You should see the one we got from your house. My sister's is just, it's almost like a shrub. It's not climbing much, but it's just push. And mine is like a little wimpy string trying desperately. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Good afternoon, everybody. EAP thanks you for coming this afternoon to our hydrangeas. It's not snowing. And we are pleased to be able to bring this program to you today. I want to also put in a plug for next week. The Humane Society, the Mohawk Hudson Humane Society, is coming to discuss pets in our house. And yes, they're bringing a doggie and a kitty that are up for adoption. So, but they are going to be talking about pets in our house, which is also very important to a lot of us. And today, I'm very happy to bring you Kerry Mendez. And she's going to talk to us about hydrangeas.
Thank you, Valerie. I'm sorry I couldn't make it earlier in the year when Valerie had initially, we had both agreed on a date, but as you may remember, it was a huge snowstorm and there was no way. Yeah. I did not have the snowmobile out. There was no way I was coming down to do this. But it's not too late. Valerie had mentioned some people were concerned, will this blow my whole hydrangea season if the talk is in May instead of March? I don't think so. I think hydrangeas are much more forgiving than we give them credit. And so what I thought I would do is, because we are in a little tighter frame, my presentations usually are tailored for an hour. So what we're going to do is I have printed out the entire PowerPoint on this handout, which talks about pruning, general care, planting, fertilizing, everything. So that if I don't cover everything in the time period that you have to be here, at least I know I'm going to send you away with hopefully some good information. I'm also now, from last time I spoke here, I still run my business Perennially Yours, which does designing, consulting, writing, and speaking on low-maintenance gardens and landscapes in Ballston Spa. If you haven't gotten my newsletter, you can sign up for it. Once a year, I open up my gardens to the public. If you want to take a look at my gardens that have been in many national magazines, they've been in Fine Gardening, Horticulture, Garden Gate, Better Homes and Gardens. So if you're interested, my date this year, and I don't know if it's going to work for you or not, but it'll be Friday afternoon, June 7th, is when my gardens will be open from noon to 5. I also do divisions for my gardens. If you're interested, you can get it in my newsletter. I also work full-time now at Hydrangeas Nursery as Director of Marketing. I joined their staff a year ago, April. And in that area, what I do is I just design. I help people come together with what I've always done. Low maintenance, workable plans to have beautiful gardens and landscapes. I also manage the perennial sale division, so I work in perennials, do a lot of different stuff, write their newsletters. So if you're interested, come see me. I always work weekends at Hydrangeas. I'm on the floor, so to speak, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm excused right now for a short period, and then I'm back again at the nursery. So that's a great time to come in and see any of us, but certainly I will be there every weekend through June. I'm at the nursery. So let's talk about hydrangeas. And I'm going to go through some general things first, and then I'm going to go through the 4 main plant groups of hydrangeas, and that's what's going to help you understand what hydrangea do you have, how do you prune it, and how do you fertilize it, okay? So let's start with, I think the biggest frustration for most gardeners with hydrangeas is they don't get the flowers they want. Is that fair to say? Is that why most of you are here? Right. And you know what? It's only primarily one group of 4 groups of hydrangeas that are probably frustrating the dickens out of you, and it's probably the ones that have blue or pink mop head flowers. Is that fair to say? No. Does someone else have hydrangeas that are not blue or pink that are driving them nuts? All right. So, well, let me show you the different groups, and you know what? I have decided in my low-maintenance garden business at my property is that I have decided to eliminate 75% of the big leaf hydrangeas that have the blue or the pink mop head flowers and replace them with one of the other 3 groups that always bloom no matter what, and stop stressing out about it. What do I give up? Blue flowers. How can I rectify that? Blue spray paint. I mean it. I want you to look, if you come to my property, I want you to look, and I am going to do some incredibly artful decoration of some of these white flowering hydrangeas that look great, and I'm going to spray some blue, and I bet you couldn't tell the difference. It's okay to trick people. I'm not ashamed of it. Anyway, so let's quickly go through. Here's some pictures of my gardens, but let's go through. Hydrangeas either can bloom on new wood, and this is any flowering shrub. okay? I don't care what flower and shrub we're talking about, including roses. They can bloom on new wood, old wood, or new and old wood. What does that mean? Because that's going to tell you when you prune your shrub. So a plant that grows on new wood is, these are all new shoots that actually come off the wood that have gone through the winter. It's all your new little green shoots that are starting to sprout out this year on your old wood. Old wood has gone through the winter. Now it's considered old because it's been there a year. And your new wood is what's going to force out the brand new flower buds. Flowers that bloom on hydrangeas or flowering shrubs that bloom on old wood, they've already formed their flower buds in the summer or fall the year before. So almost every one of your spring flowering shrubs bloom on old wood. That's your forsythia, your rhododendrons, your magnolias, fafagilla, lilacs. All of those plants I just mentioned, and some of the hydrangeas I'm going to show you, bloom on old wood, which means they've already got themselves revved up the year before. And so you don't want to prune those shrubs late summer or fall, or you're taking all your flowers off, or most of your flowers off. So in general, spring flowering shrubs always have already got their buds set in the fall. So the time to prune flowering shrubs that bloom on old wood is when?
No.
Right after they finish blooming. And you know what? Most of the big blue or pink mophead hydrangeas bloom on old wood. And I'm going to talk more about that when I get into individual shots of these hydrangeas. What does that mean? You say, well, Kerry, if they bloom on old wood like my lilac and my forsythia, my magnolia, my rhododendron, then why don't I see any flowers in the summertime? Is that right?
Yeah.
The reason is, with the exception of a few hydrangeas I'm going to show you, in that group, many of the flower buds that were formed late summer on those beautiful blue or pink hydrangeas are very susceptible to freezing off in the winter. There has been some research that even shows some of the hydrangea flower buds will freeze off and die at 20 degrees above zero. 20 degrees above zero. So consider that. We're not Cape Cod. We're not New Jersey. We can think we are. We can look at those flower magazines. But that's why, and I've been gardening for over 25 years, and I've used a lot of hydrangeas over my years, but that's why the blue or the pink mounded hydrangeas can be very frustrating shrubs to work with in upstate New York. Because you really have no control. You can try, I'll give you some tips on how you can minimize the freezing off of those flower buds. But one of the other things that kills so many of the buds is when we have these incredible temperature swings in the winter. So, you know, when we get all of a sudden really warm day in January, we have a warm week, the snow's off thawing, it's like, oh my gosh, and then it snaps back to that cold temperature. That temperature swing can also kill the buds. So it might not have been really cold, it might have been just a dramatic temperature swing that got the buds to start to swell, to be tricked into thinking, oh, it's spring's here, and all of a sudden it drops down to 10 degrees above zero, bang, done, finished. Do you hear what I'm saying? And there are some hydrangeas that bloom on new and old wood. And I'm going to show you those. What does that mean? When you get it, when on the hydrangea tag, it will tell you if it blooms on new and old wood. It will specifically tell you if it's in that group. What it means with that group is they still have formed their flower buds in the fall, like every one of the pink or blue mophead hydrangeas. They all form their flower buds in the late summer, fall. What happens with those that form on new and old wood? If we lost all those buds in the winter from crazy temperatures, a lot of winds, you know, we get the wind chill factors and they freeze up because we have high winds that are whipping across those areas. The ones that bloom on new and old wood, it means the second round of all the new growth that starts to come off either from the base of the shrub or from the old stalks. That second round of stemming out, that leafing out, will form flower buds. So you have a second chance to get flowers. But those flowers don't bloom till later in the summer. So let me say one last thing, and then this hopefully will all fit together in this new and old, which has become the big thing for a lot of garden centers, is that if we have a mild winter, and the stems actually winter over with all those flower buds still kept from the year before, we've kept them, then those buds will actually go into bloom in June. You'll start actually seeing early doming up on those in late May into early June. And you'll actually start getting flowers, those beautiful blue or pink hydrangea flowers later in June into July. and then a whole new round of flowers as the new stems start coming off the old wood and forming their round of buds on them. So if we had a mild winter without a lot of winds or temperature swings, we truly could have what like the Cape Cod has. We could have hydrangeas that start blooming sometime in June and they're just going right through the fall. In many cases, we're losing the winter buds. So we're getting one round, if that, that goes later in the summer. So let me keep going. You can, hopefully this will make more sense. Here's a shot of hydrangeas in front of my house, okay? This is endless summer hydrangea. This is one of the blue or pink. It can be either way based on soil pH, which I'll tell you in a second. You can change the colors on these. But this group is the group that drives everyone nuts, and I'm going to show you the other three shortly. This is the one, I tell people, if you want to have a hassle-free hydrangea life, then don't grow these. Don't drive yourself nuts. Don't pray over, oh my gosh, it's going to be cold winter, what's going to happen? Just move on. Choose a different type of hydrangea. If you insist on having these, and I do, I have some of these here in front of my house. This is on the northeast side. They do not want to be in full sun. These mop head, blue or pink, they hate full sun. It stresses them out in the summertime. So here, this is a hydrangea that you can see has loads of flower buds, repeat blooming now, coming later in the summer. I probably took that picture on 1st of July or so. I'm looking at the other things that are blooming. Now, that hydrangea last year had 3 flowers on it. And you probably noticed last year, hardly any of these mop head hydrangeas had flowers on them, even if you had more the year before. And you know why? Last March, if you remember, the temperatures went up to like 70 degrees. It was this eerie, whoa, what's happening here? Very weird March weather to be in the 70s. Then it plummeted down to normal temperature. Every one of the old buds froze off. And because it was a little bit extended time, the theory is a lot of the new stem growth was starting to form new buds because it was just so freaky. And then when that temperature dropped, all the flowers, new and old buds, were being formed. That's why this hydrangea, and I've had these for years, had, I think, 3 flowers on it last year.
If you had that endless summer variety, and they are in the sun, like you said, they don't like.
Well, they get, they
will,
molt by
they will.
mid-afternoon.
And I have 3 of them, and they're in a sunny area, and I don't know, they flowered the first year I put them in there, maybe timing or something, but.
Well, or they already had their flower buds
They
preserved.
don't like the sun, so will they flower at all, or should I just move them?
The flowering, you can put these in full sun. Will it reduce your flowering? Probably not. It just, it's very stressful to the plant to have all that moisture loss in the afternoon, so it's going through this stress out, and then, you know, the cool of the evening brings more temperature and humidity back to the garden area, so they kind of pop up. They'll still probably flower, but it's going to be a little bit more stressful to the plant. I mean, I always say ideally with these, I'd site them in morning sun on like the east side of the house, or in dappled sun. I think that's where they do their best. Or afternoon sun, but not beating hot sun all day long. Let me keep kind of, and I'm going to talk about the pruning and the individual ones when I get into the individual shots, because these are the 4 group of hydrangeas. Because most people, when you walk into a garden center, just like me, I had no idea when I first started gardening. I was what? These 4 groups: smooth hydrangea. Ooh, where did I just go? Smooth hydrangea, big leaf hydrangea, which are the mop head ones, big leaves, lose a lot of water off their leaves. Hardy hydrangea, which are also known as panicle hydrangeas, and oak leaf. This is the one group of hydrangea that drives people nuts. I don't ever hear people complaining about these 3. All right, so I'm going to show you all of them, and I'm going to encourage you to rethink some things if you're always having problems with your mop head hydrangeas.
Do pink only come in the big mop head, or the other are pinks as well?
There are some other pinks. Pinks also come in smooth hydrangeas, which I'll show you.
Okay, because I just ordered hydrangeas for the first time. I have no idea, but they're supposed to be pink, so I'm thinking I'm going to get those bad boys that you just said I should want.
Well, I shouldn't say you, I mean, I don't want to be the damper on things. I don't want to be the, oh, throw the, you know, gosh,
Yeah.
bummer thing. But I'm just being, you're here, most of you are here because you're frustrated with those big leaf hydrangeas. Isn't that it?
Yes.
It's not because you're, the others, when you see them, you're like, oh. It's just, it's choices of how you want to deal with your time and your energy and your sense of satisfaction with gardening. And I'm a tough love, low maintenance gardener. I've written my books all about this. It's about choices that we have with our time. And if you want to baby these things and do a lot of extra stuff, then God bless you, go ahead with it. Now, The only group of hydrangeas of the 4 groups I just showed you that will change their color based on your soil pH are the big leaf hydrangeas, also known as the mop head hydrangeas. If you want blue or blue purple or blurple as we sometimes call it, they like acid soil. What does that mean? It means they want a soil pH. I think I did this, yeah, I'm going to show you a pH getting. They want a soil pH of 6.0 or lower. If you want bright pink ones, they want a soil pH of 7.0 or higher. This is in your notes, so you don't have to worry about it. And this is how you find out what you have. This is such an easy test to do. You can take a soil sample to Cornell Cooperative Extension, many garden centers. We do it for free at Fadigan's Nursery. We'll do a soil pH. Or you can get these test kits sold by Rapid Test is the name of this company. It's $5.99 for 10 tests. And you can do it for any area in your yard, from vegetable gardens to wherever you want to. But around the base of your hydrangeas, the mop head ones that you want to change colors, make more blue or more pink, you're just going to around the base of the roots, and you're going down like 4 inches into the soil around the base of that hydrangea, and you're taking up a sample, half cup of soil. You're following the directions. You put a little soil into this case, break open a capsule, add some water, shake it up, and within less than 2 minutes, it's going to tell you what your soil pH is. If you want bluer hydrangeas, you want to see the numbers are from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral, drinking water. Above 7 is alkaline or basic. Below 7 is acidic. You want blue hydrangeas, you're looking for 6.0 or lower. If you want the pretty pink ones, you want a 7.0 or higher. And in my notes you'll see, to raise pH you add lime, to lower pH you add sulfur or coffee grinds, and that's going to pull your pH down, and as your soil pH comes down, your flowers get bluer or they get pinker as they come up. All right, I'm just keeping this pretty simple because of time. Again, here's my point, I forgot I had this. So to lower pH, you use sulfur, something like this product. It's called Soil Acidifier. It's elemental sulfur, totally organic, can't burn plants. Or you can use coffee grinds or peat moss. Peat moss is very acidic, 3.5 pH peat moss. If you want to raise pH, you add lime or wood ashes. If any of you burn wood, wood ashes are very alkaline. Scratch in some wood ashes around your hydrangeas. Again, the only ones that change color are the big leaf mop head ones. I'm not going to go through these, are just more shots of my gardens, but I'm not going to go through planting because it tells you in your handout how to dig your hole, what to do. Because of time, I'm just going to let you read that. Also with fertilizing, this is in your handout, general fertilizer for any flowering shrub. You can use what's called a balanced fertilizer where all 3 numbers are the same. Can't go wrong, fertilizer with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Now, these are the individual pictures. They're listed in your handout, and I'm just going to go through the 4 groups with pictures, okay? And this is actually starting with slide number 10. If you look at number 10 on your handout, back to page 1, this is going to tell you every plant, how high it grows, the light it needs, the zone it's coldest to. Is everyone still with me? This is one of the easiest groups. Here's one of our groups of hydrangeas. They're commonly called smooth hydrangeas because they're leaf. The Latin name, the species, the group it's in is arborescens. This word right here, arborescens. Sometimes you see the word hydrangea, a period, and then the single quote variety to tell you which variety that's in. Any of them in the arborescens groups are a cakewalk, easy to grow. Very drought tolerant. They can handle sun or shade. This says part shade. I have this one. This is Annabelle. That's been around for years. I have white. This is not my garden. I have white hydrangea Annabelles under my pine trees. And if you come to my open house on June 7th, you're going to look and go, wow. And they're real. They're living. They're not fake. I mean, they're right there. And I'm showing people this is what you can do in dry shade using I have a hedge wall with white hydrangeas going down. These bloom on new wood, which means these are setting their flower buds after danger of frost. You always are going to get these. This is not a, oh my gosh, are they going to flower or not? The only one thing that people sometimes are frustrated with this group is sometimes they flop. Do any of you have the white hydrangeas? This is how you stop that. What you can do is, sometimes you can prune these down to within 3 to 6 inches of the ground every year if you wanted to, because all the new stems are going to form their flower buds. Personally, what I do if I need to try to keep them at a certain height that I want. I will only take off maybe 6 inches of the tips of each of the hydrangeas in late winter, early spring before they wake up. They're still asleep, because once they wake up and start putting that new growth on, that's where their flower buds are going to be forming on that new little growth. So I keep the majority of those stems, I leave them alone, so that year after year they get thicker and sturdier to hold these flowers up. Does that make sense? Okay. This hydrangea called Incredible, I'm still in that smooth leaf group, is so amazing. I've trialed it, I do a lot of writing for magazines, and I trialed this one and I'm amazed by it. They took Annabelle and they improved her. They gave her even more crisp white flowers, not even leaving a limey touch to it. Very, very pronounced white flowers with very stiff stems. They hybridized it so it really had a stronger stem to not flop. And I tell you what, I've been so impressed with Incredible. This is what I'm using now instead of Annabelle. I kept my Annabelles, but I'm adding now these for a stiffer stem. These are more in the smooth leaf group, and we have most of these at Fattigans. Actually, we don't have Ryan Gainey yet. Ryan Gainey, and look at the difference here with the hybridizing. All they did is they created a flower head that was more open, wasn't as dense with the flowers. Still blooms on new wood, and it's supposed to have, once again, a very stiffer, upright habit. This is the pink hydrangea. So finally, the smooth leaf group of hydrangeas finally could offer pink flowers in that group. And this is one called Invincible Spirit. It is a repeat blooming pink hydrangea in the smooth leaf, drought tolerant, very flexible, always flowers because it flowers on new wood. This is another smooth leaf hydrangea called Bounty, and again, I have not grown this one, but you can see some of these just have a slightly different flower shape or a flower form and the way the florets work. All these are very easy hydrangeas in the smooth leaf group. And this is another one of the smooth leaf. This is for those who just want more of a daintier one. This has both sterile and fertile flowers, so what it does, it has almost like a flat, slightly mounded flower, and its flowers open around the rim of the dome. So it's almost like a lace cap hydrangea, but it's in the smooth group, a very easy to grow group. All right, this is the second group. Another, no-brainer, as I say. I love no-brainer hydrangeas. This is the second group of hydrangeas. These are sometimes called panicle hydrangeas. Paniculata, this is the species. So you see the word hydrangea. You'll see the word paniculata or P period, and then you see the single quote. Any in the paniculata group are also drought tolerant, incredibly great bloomers. They go through our winters great in the Northeast, most to zone 3. They usually have a white flower in the spring that ages to burgundy. A lot of you have seen these, right? This is the only group of hydrangeas that you can choose to either grow as a multi-stemmed shrub with many stems coming out from the ground and flowering, or you can choose to grow it as a single trunk tree. So in this group, the panicle group of hydrangeas, you have two choices. Do I want it to be a full shrub from the base, from the ground, or do I want the growers to have roomed it up, selected one stem to grow as a dominant stem and grow it as a tree? Again, this is your choice how you want to use it. This is the one thing I tell people to think about in this group of hydrangeas, and this is it. Again, hopefully a lot of this, I'm watching time here. In this group of hydrangeas, they're usually dome-shaped, pyramidal-shaped flowers. You have a choice to buy those that have dense domes. See how tight these flowers are opening up? Or more openly spaced, where you actually have some sterile and fertile flowers. Dense or very open sprayed. You can choose based on the cultivar, the variety. The one thing I say is this. If you choose the denser ones, which I have both of these in my yard, the one thing to consider with these is what? What would you think when you saw that?
It's going to flop over.
Sometimes they flop over with the weight, especially after rains. This group stays much more upright because it doesn't have the weight of the flowers. Things to think about, especially if you're putting them in an entryway where you're walking by and they're flopping into your sidewalk. You think about location, right plant, right spot. This is probably the oldest, most great old-fashioned shrub, PG hydrangea. I bet a lot of you have this one. This is one that can be grown either as a shrub or a single trunk tree. This is a very old tree. There's actually a big trunk under there. All of these in this group start out white and they age to burgundy pink in the fall. All of them. It doesn't matter what the shape of the flower is, if it's a shrub or a trunk tree. This is PG grown as a shrub. There was a tree. So it's the same flower, just the way it's been grown up by the grower. This is one that's gotten a lot of raves. It's amazing. It's called Pinky Winky. And the neat thing about this is it starts out all white, and it's an open, some fertile, some non-fertile. But what happens is the older group, the older flowers which open up at the base first, they very quickly turn burgundy pink. They don't just kind of wait months later to go to that aging color. So it gives you the look of a bicolor flower.
Is that pH dependent or that
No,
just happens
no
to
pH dependent. The only one that does that is the bluer pinks. This will never go any other color, not deeper pink, I mean, sometimes temperatures can affect, but it's not your soil. A couple others, again, because of time. More and more people are downsizing gardens or gardening in containers. Now you're gonna see a lot of new choices of hydrangeas that are very small, that are not going 8, 10, 15 feet like some of them. This is Little Lamb, it's been a top seller, very compact, only gets 4 to 6 feet, and white flowers that age to the beautiful burgundy pink in the fall. This is one, this is not my garden, but I love this one, I think it's just amazing. This is called Pink Diamond Hydrangea. Again, this one was grown as a tree versus a shrub. I think it's a very clean, upright one. It's got a lacier flower, and it goes pink very quickly. The entire flower goes pink very quickly in the summertime and in the fall. God bless you. This came out like 2 years ago, and basically what they did is they took Pinky Winky, and look what they, now we've got these very dense flower domes. I hope I see it differently this year. But initially, when they come into garden centers, into container-ready 3-gallon pots that we're selling, because they have these big flowers really early on, and the stems haven't sturdy, aren't mature stems, they tend to look very floppy and messy in a container. Eventually, they will get that maturity and thicker stems that can support these flowers, but initially, I think they look a little messy. I'm sure in a few years, I have not grown this to see how it grows on in a few years, but I'm sure it will get stiffer stems because those are pretty big flowers to hold up. Tardiva has been around so long, it's one of my favorite old-fashioned ones. This is just some shots I took. Hydrangea trees especially can be specimen trees. You can use them in your landscape as a focal point. You can simply mulch underneath, or if you want, underplant it with some perennials or annuals because they have a single trunk, they allow for underplanting. But this is one that has very long, much longer than most hydrangeas, very long extended panicles that are very lacy looking. You turn pink in the fall. This one has just come out as one of the top ones. We're trying to get it into our garden centers. It's getting really good reviews in the grower magazines. It's called Big Ben. It's in a panicle hydrangea, again, another easier one with more of an open sprayed habit, and it's supposed to bloom very much longer than many of the others. It's supposed to really start to open up earlier in July and give you much more extended color. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Quick fire. This is another one that is this probably is the very earliest blooming hydrangea you can put in your gardens for a panicle hydrangea. And you get the name Quick Fire because it very quickly goes into bloom. I have both the tree and the shrub form in my gardens. It very quickly gets these white flowers in early July that very quickly start to pink up and go burgundy red by August. They're already colored that beautifully. And it's the quickest to really jumpstart the hydrangea season. I was just at a consult yesterday in Albany, and we were looking for a privacy hedge she wanted to use, but she didn't care about if it's evergreen. Limelight hydrangea is another top-selling hydrangea that grows 6 to 8 feet tall, grows on very, very quickly, and can make, I think, a stunning hedge for privacy. Not for winter, this is deciduous, it's going to drop all its leaves, but it's very thick, and I think it holds its head up better than many of the other denser domed hydrangeas. Bobo, we're trying to get this one in. This is the shortest hydrangea yet coming on the market. This is a panicle hydrangea that's only going 2.5 to 3 feet tall. I mean, this will be, and it has these flowers. This is the other thing, the shorter the plant, the shorter the stem, the better it's able to hold up its flowers because it's got less weight, less length on that stem. So I'm so excited to see this one come into Fabian's. Little Lime is another big seller. Took another compact one from Limelight that gets 6 to 8. They took Limelight and shortened it. This only gets 3 to 5 feet. Nice compact hydrangea. Starts to get that burgundy, kind of a chartreusey coloring later in the summer. And now finally, let's go to the last two, and I'm going fast here. These are your mop heads. These are the ones that drive people nuts, all right? This is Endless Summer. You saw one in front of my house. This is the Proven Winners piece, you know, giving the great cat in the shot. This is Penny Mac in front of a person's house showing about, by the way, let me make, this hydrangea site, I got this from their site, is the most amazing website about hydrangeas. It's called Hydrangeas, hydrangeas.com. It's on your, it tells you everything from how to do each one, pictures of how to prune. It's such a great website on hydrangeas. And Penny Mac is one of my favorite hydrangeas, repeat blooming, old and new wood. Here you can see they've really acidified that soil to get that blue. Blushing Bride is one of the other, this first one that came out after Endless Summer was this one. Blushing Bride, that is a repeat blooming old and new wood. Blushing Bride starts out white and then it ages to a very soft pink or very soft blue based on your soil pH. Again, this group of hydrangeas will change colors based on your soil pH. This is this one group. Let's Dance Moonlight, this isn't just a different grower that came out with them. All those in the Let's Dance series are repeat blooming, compact. They're much shorter hydrangeas than any of the other big leaf hydrangeas. They stay very tight and compact, can be used in the front of your garden beds or in containers. Lace leaf, ooh, what I was trying to show you here in Bailey Nursery's piece is lace cap hydrangeas are what you saw similar to the white dome earlier. They have flowers that rim around a flat dome-shaped flower. They can be blue or pink based on your soil pH. This is a variety called Twist and Shout right here. There's Let's Dance Starlight, again, another small, compact, repeat blooming hydrangea. These all, in this group, we're going to change soil pH. Here's one at my house. So here I took the shot in my side yard in shadier area. By the way, these hydrangeas, especially the lace cap hydrangeas, can take a lot more shade than most hydrangeas. So, you know, people say, well, I want those blue or pink. Well, a lot of them don't bloom as well if you give them quite a bit of shade, but the lace cap big leaf hydrangeas, this spot right here, probably, I don't know, it's 3 hours of afternoon sun, if that. Nico Blue is one that's been out so long. I'm sure a lot of you have Nico Blue. It's one of the ones, this one only blooms on old wood, only blooms on old wood. So if we had a crummy winter, there's no second chance of having new stems coming up that'll bear new flowers later in the summer.
Would it be a problem to dig those up now? And they're just starting to grow?
No, you can dig them up now, move them, make sure you keep them watered in as they're resetting their roots.
Okay.
This is a great time to do it.
All right.
This one I just, kind of weird shots, but I didn't have ones to show in my garden, although I have both of these in my gardens. You now can get variegated hydrangea leaves. You know, if it's not going to flower, at least you can have cool leaves. Again, more the big leaf hydrangeas, a lot of these newer ones, this is a big movement now. As people are downsizing gardens, they have less time to go in their gardens. They're doing more container gardens, and they're doing smaller gardens. But many still want hydrangeas, and in order to get a hydrangea that fits to scale in a smaller garden, you've got to get smaller bush hydrangeas. Otherwise, they overwhelm small spaces. And this is the final group of hydrangeas. They're called oak leaf hydrangeas. So this is category 4 of our hydrangeas. This is the species name right here, Quercifolia. So that's what you'd see on the plant tag, either Q period or Quercifolia. They get the name oak leaf because they have leaves that look like oak trees. That's it. That's your 4th group of hydrangeas. These all have very long flower stems. Some can be a foot and a half long. They have very extended blooms. They open white and they age to burgundy pink. This is the only group of hydrangeas, the only group of hydrangeas that have the leaves that turn burgundy red in the fall. Farther south, you see a lot of these. In our area, sometimes they don't want to be in a windy spot. They want to be sheltered from the wind, but they are stunning because they have great fall color. And I wanted to say, actually, there is one other group. This is at my house. There are climbing hydrangeas. This is a climbing hydrangea I have on my oak tree. And there's Harry, my little gnome face. But climbing hydrangeas have white lace cap flowers that can bloom in shade. This is this color in June and July, and then it has great fall color. Look at that fall leaf in the, on that climbing hydrangea. And this is another.
You take that off of that, or you just leave it, and does it die?
I just leave it
like
because
that?
this is deciduous, so all these leaves drop off in the fall. So it's all, yeah. And this is a new one I have not grown. This is another climbing hydrangea, but it's got a variegated leaf instead of the solid green leaf I just showed you. It's called Miranda. And then I just was, I thought this was kind of funny because this This is from Hydrangeas, and it was just showing you a lace cap hydrangea, see it farther back in the shade. This looks like, oh, this is an oak leaf. You can see kind of that leaf. Just thought that was kind of a cool shot. And then I just did a few shots of my gardens, I guess. I couldn't even remember that. Yeah, these are my gardens in Ballston Spa. I only have a quarter of an acre, little tiny yard. Wow. But I try to do a lot in my yard.
So they have no grass.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't know, this is kind of the wrap up because of time. I did, if you're interested, I did bring my books, that if you want, I sell at $20 including tax at my talks. They're meant to be reference books where top 10 lists, because I don't know if you're list people, but I am. I know I need a certain amount of things done today or this week. And so I wanted to come up with reference lists for gardeners, so 3 to 7. Top 10 best, the first book on the left is sun and shade plants, annuals, perennials, flowering shrubs, bulbs, ground covers. Top 10s of each in designing, from coneflowers to all others. And then the rest of that book is all on how to care for a garden, how to divide plants, soil, pH, fertilizers, mulch, what to do when in the gardens, and how to deal with deer, rabbits, voles, moles, fungal diseases. The book on the right really just, a year later, very much specialized just shade plants and shade design. So I went one step farther. I did 52 lists of top plants for shade, including ornamental trees, bulbs, climbing vines, and then more specifically how to design and shade. So I will leave it at this. I'll be available. I know you're on a tighter schedule, but I'll be available to answer questions. I have the books up here. If you want to get my newsletters telling you when my open house is, if I do another one in July, or where I'm speaking if you're interested, or garden tips and featured plants, I do that on my newsletters, e-newsletters. I don't share the newsletters with anyone. They stay with me. So I want to thank you for your time. Aren't I supposed to wrap up at this point?
Yes, thank you very much.
Just don't want to get into trouble. Thank you. Thank you.
What do you do with the hydrangea if you have it in a container for overwintering?
You know,